There's not overarching anything. Like, what am I supposed to tune in for next week?
They did a level 5 diagnostic check. God damn it.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 319522.1. Welcome aboard the Starship's Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief short leave for the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. I am your Captain Ian Whittington, and with me, as always, is the energizing Ambassador Deneé Hughes.
Did you already use the energizing?
Have I?
Have you?
Shit. Have I?
Have you?
Yeah, you'll never know. We're in a time loop.
Fuck.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's fine. And with us also is the man that makes you want to shout, "Hit it, Commodore Aaron Dicer."
Okay.
Not like I got thrown off my flow at all, Ambassador.
I'm sorry. Is there a flow to consider?
I thought I fly. Let's fly.
No,
Good.
that's the other person's job.
Yeah. Who?
I'm sorry. You are lacking fluency. Is what you are.
Fluent.
Is
that like a renal problem? Is that? Do I
Sure,
need to go to sick bay for that?
If you want to.
Okay. How are you doing, guys?
I'm super excited to watch another episode of Strange New Worlds. Is
So
how I'm doing.
excited.
Yeah, I am also excited. This is the first time that we've been where you're back home, Ian. So
Yeah.
for the
So-
listeners at home, we've gone from being in person to slightly not in person to definitely not in person.
Yeah.
We're all in different locations now.
It is
So-
true.
And there is something like great about doing it in person and watching the episode together. Like, we're gonna watch it simultaneously, all on the same screen, but I won't be able to like lean over and slap Deneé because a phaser beam went off or something. And she may be grateful for that. She may actually like that better. But yes, so the show may sound slightly different, but we will still be talking New Worlds. I think having a pretty amazing time. So this week's episode is called "The Ghosts of Illyria."
Is that a disease or a place or what?
Maybe if you have it, you turn into a ghost. I don't know. So, to my immediate knowledge, Illyria is not somewhere that I know in Star Trek. It seems to be continuing the theme of doing new things, which, hey,
I
isn't
hope
that
so.
novel? Uh-huh.
Do you
So
think it's
I
going to
love
be a place that we saw in the previews?
So, do you mean in, like, the opening?
Yeah.
Credits.
Not the previews, but like the introduction.
Generally, those aren't. They're just pretty things to fly past. It's not like Picard, where there's a ton of buried messages and whatnot. It tends to just be the Enterprise flying around pretty stuff. But
Okay.
we could be proven wrong. That is in your hands, Ambassador, to suddenly say, that was in the credits. Oh, my God.
Oh, no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we already saw one thing that was in the flybys.
The Enterprise doesn't count.
Ow! It's the station that has the trees. That's in the introduction.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Watch this time. You'll
Oh,
see.
damn. Okay. I will watch. No, I totally missed. Did you get that, Aaron?
I don't know what the station with the trees. What are we talking about?
Yeah. There's that station with the trees.
It's great. Say it one more time.
There's a station that's in space.
A station.
station.
Then there's like
you
some
say.
trees out there, and it was like we brought them out here and grew them, and it wouldn't stop. So now there's a forest.
Huh?
In the station.
Remember?
No.
Oh yes, I
Oh my
do.
God,
I do
am I,
remember. I
like-
didn't.
Ian, back me up. That actually
I remember.
happened, right?
I remember. Yeah.
Ian, don't do this to me, man.
No, that
Was it in
happened.
episode 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that seems familiar.
Yeah, there was something about like trying to get off the planet or something, and then they were able to stay on the planet, and then they just left it out there as like a
reminder
sanctuary.
of something.
Yeah,
Kind of went in with the
thing.
plot. It was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Short-term
Anyway,
memory, FTW.
it is in the intro of the show. You do see them fly past
Okay.
it. Watch and pay attention
Okay.
this time. You'll see it.
I will. Man, I feel like I've been watching a different TV show.
I just want to do an over/under on how long before Handsome Anson mentions his fate in this episode.
okay,
how long
okay.
in this? How many minutes into this episode before we get another flashback or mention of that character's conundrum?
I think we will get it 6 minutes into the episode, and
Okay.
then nothing until the closing piece of the episode.
Okay. That seems to be the bookend thing.
Yeah.
Seems to be what they're doing. So I'm going to go with 25 minutes. That's going to be my
Oh,
guess.
so in the middle.
I think they're going to switch it up
Okay.
and have him mention it in the middle.
with that, let's head to 10 Forward, where we will see you for a full debrief of episode 3 of Strange New World.
Computer. 3 to beam to the tree planet.
It's not. It's a station.
Yeah,
Remember?
well, now it's a
station.
planet.
Well, now we're going somewhere else in time. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from where we grab something from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode that we just watched. What would you like from the replicator, Ambassador?
I've got coconut water, peach, and mango. I've also got a little mixture of leftover quesadilla meat with tortilla chips and some drying breakfast sandwich.
So do you have to go to the replicator and say, I would like specifically leftover quesadilla meat? It needs to be like 2-day-old and half a breakfast sandwich.
Yeah. And the replicator also needs to understand what is also in the refrigerator that has absorbed into the meat. You know what I mean? Like the
surrounding
scent.
ambience. Yep. Nice.
So it's a very complicated order, but the replicator can do anything. And so, though it took some programming, I've got this perfect.
Dialed in. Nice. I mean, transporters and replicators, how do they work? How do they save your children? The Commodore, you're still stuck on the same thing because you use too much energy. You're never-ending water, so good luck with that. And I have a cup of tea.
Thanks.
So
Finally, a proper England. Like you're actually back home. A proper.
it's English water. It's an English tea bag. It's English sugar made by an English kettle. Yes, it's beautiful. I can taste no difference. It doesn't matter. It all tastes like tea. Right. The crew of the Enterprise investigates a colony that has mysteriously disappeared, consisting of Illyrians who have been shunned from Starfleet for meddling in eugenics and genetic manipulation. The Way team is mysteriously brought down with some kind of virus while Spock and Pike are trapped on the planet. Deneé, think of the episode.
Well, I'm going to skip to the middle of my notes and read what I wrote, which is, in all caps, "This is how you do an episode of fucking Star Trek!"
Yeah! Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is like...
Oh, that's amazing.
This is a great episode where, you're getting to see how different crew members do different things in different emergency situations. You've got an away team mission that goes wrong. You've got a sick bay situation. You've got a warp core breach. You got some shit going down with this and then that. And there's a cohesive storyline through it all. And the revelation of something in the backstory of a character and an unexpected twist at the end. Oh.
Yeah, and themes.
Yes, there's really, really beautiful themes here and some super cool sets and some super cool, the themes of it. So I, once again, love this show.
Yeah, knocked it out of the park. Aaron?
It's good.
Okay.
So, I think.
Don't make me hurt you.
Don't you do
wish-
it.
Look,
Don't you
Dicer,
do it.
I will boot you off this fucking
You love
podcast.
everything. Go watch some Star Wars, you asshole.
No, listen. I think there's just not enough. They didn't even mention the Pike stuff. There's not overarching anything. What am I supposed to tune in for next
They did
week?
a level 5 diagnostic check. God
He
damn
is
it.
trolling hard.
No, I loved it. I really did. I did have a moment in the middle where I was kind of like, oh, this is waning for me a little bit. But then even then I was like, man, I got to tell you, it's just nice to have, and this isn't this episode, but there might be one in this season, where it's just like, you know what? I'll just take a mediocre actual Star Trek episode. You know what I mean? This isn't a mediocre episode.
No,
I actually
no.
really like this episode. But I did have that thought where it was like, I'm just really enjoying this show being what I remember TOS being, right?
Almost
I know
background watching. Some of the episodes
kind
can
of,
be.
maybe in a little bit. But if you are watching intently, you are catching a lot of really nice theme work. The theme work in this one really stood out to me about, how stereotypes, expectations. There's just moment after moment where characters are dealing with the idea of this is not what I knew about you, and what people expect out of you is different. So yeah, I really, really dug it. Put me on this ship and let me hang.
It's crazy how it's only been 3 episodes and we're feeling like that.
Oh my god.
How are they so embedded? Like, even Dr. Mbenga, who we've only really had this full episode with, I love him to death. The snarky chief engineer, I love him so much. Hemmer, I actually looked up his name this week. Everyone is so comfortable. Like, even TNG took 2 full years to get everybody embedded and comfortable with the crew that we know them to be.
I want a Hemmer Time T-shirt.
Yes.
Just so we're
That's
clear.
amazing.
It's just him, just like really deadpan.
Yep,
Hemmer
exactly. Just his deadpan face.
Oh my
just
god,
says
that's
Hemmer
perfect.
Time.
What did you
So
think,
perfect.
Ian? I'm guessing you loved it.
Oh man, so I got really fed up with my notes. So it just my first 5 notes are: I love ... I love ... I love ... I love ... and then discount Timothy Chalamet. Who was
That's
like,
that's my first note. Is discount Timothy Chalamet.
I knew
That's
it.
like my first note.
Wait, okay, hold on. Who is Timothy Chalamet?
I was gonna wait until
Timothy
the Sinterprise part or whatever, but
discount Timothy. He's the
ReSINstance.
Oh,
he's the ensign that puts his face through the window to begin
ensign.
with.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, man, Aaron
Immediately.
is saying the same thing. I'm sure of it.
Immediately.
That's hilarious.
Man, I love this episode. Again, it was definitely slower paced, but I love that pace. I absolutely love it. Like, again, everything doesn't have to be universe ending. It can just be
know.
starship ending. That's absolutely fine.
I didn't have that same feeling of it being slower paced.
Just in the middle, like pretty much where Aaron said.
Yeah.
Just when
Yeah, it slowed down right in the middle.
like we don't
Yeah.
spend a huge amount of time with Spock and Pike, so there's not a lot to get invested with there. That's resolved pretty quickly. So it's a lot of time spent on the ship with number 1, wrestling the same. Will you just
Fuck
hurry up and
yes.
find the cure?
Fuck
No,
yes.
I love it.
Give me more of her. She's my favorite right now. I fucking
She's
love
the
her so
best,
much.
isn't she?
Yeah.
She's so good. She's so confident, and yeah, I love it to bits. Even the Star Trek referencing the history of Star Trek stuff was done really, really well. It wasn't throwaway. It is okay. We're going to address why her last name is the same as Khan's last name. We're going to get that out of the way, and we're going to explain it. But it still felt really organic. Yeah, I loved all of it. Do you guys? Aaron probably doesn't, but the quick potted history of Khan and why this is the eugenic stuff is an issue. World War III was started by genetically engineered humans. So as soon as that all finished and Khan was sent onto space, he had like a ton of kids, like all good do apparently. Eugenics and genetic altering, and you can't even like choose the gender of your child. All of that stuff is outlawed and banned. So much so that Starfleet won't even accept anybody with that kind of background.
Genetic modification and eugenics are 2 different things, though.
Correct.
Like
yes.
it's interesting because I think clearly there is a reason why eugenics was in the mind of the 60s in the when Star Trek was coming out, coming off of World War II, and that certainly makes sense that would be built in there. And now we're dealing with ramifications of what does it mean to do genetic modification, even if it is consensual. Like what does that look like? What does that mean? And so it's interesting that the show is deciding to kind of explore that a little bit and figure that out.
Yeah, because it's always been, where do you draw the line? Like, if you can genetically modify somebody to get rid of a predisposition or arthritis or cancer, great. But then why wouldn't you also pick them to have a great lung capacity so that they can run fast? And then that leads to being, well, can't we all just be 6'5"? And you can start cherry picking everything, and that's really where the issues begin. So Star Trek has gone the blanket route of, nope, it's all bad, so we're not going to do it. But yeah, this is them battling with, well, what if there is this race that are using it for good, and just instead of reforming a planet, they reform themselves so that they can live on the planet. I love that. That
was cool.
Like, I didn't think that after 800 episodes, Star Trek would come up with something new. But we haven't seen that before. That's great.
Did you get the sense that they used their genetic modification to live on the planet?
That's
or
what
did
she
you
said.
get this? I thought, man, maybe I misunderstood. I thought they said that the reason they died is because they undid their genetic modification, and then when
That
this
colony.
thing happened.
Both. So both things are true.
Oh, okay.
So that happened on that colony.
Yeah.
But number 1 was saying that
She came from someplace else.
yeah,
Yes. Okay. Got it.
But
Thank
their
you. It's all
general
clicking now.
like vibe is get to the planet, go into the planet goop, make yourself Goopy Planet 2,
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, wait, we want to be part of Federation, so let's undo. And then they got booked.
The squiffiness, well, we'll save that for ReSINstance, because what happened to the colony is some bullshit, but that's fine, we'll get to that. But yeah, I don't think the Khan stuff needs much more. Like, that's her last name, she's a descendant of Khan! And it's just one more layer of bullshit that she's had to deal with growing up.
I did have, like, a point. So I, at one point, my notes were this. It said, all caps, Ian, I don't understand these two relationship, the first officer and what I'm calling muscles. I know they have history and a friendship before the show began, but I don't understand that they're spat. Like, so I think it's because they're friends and one has been ridiculed for being a Khan, Khan, not Con. And then number one, or the first officer, whatever, has hidden that she's like not even supposed to be in Starfleet and should be more like have more of a I don't know, personal experience with being judged. I'm not sure. Is that kind of what that spat was about?
So yeah, she rescued La'an from a colony way back in the day, got her into Starfleet and did all of that. From the what?
The raft.
Yeah, from the raft that the Gorn sent off.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I think because she's been bullied from a young age for being just descended from one of these augments, that Una is now like the epitome of what she's been fighting against and what she's been labelled as. And I think it's more the betrayal of, you didn't even tell me. Like, you didn't tell me you were an augment. You didn't share this with me. And it's a little bit weak, and I'm glad that they kind of get past it pretty quickly.
They seem to, yeah.
It's definitely amplified by the disease, but that's where the outrage comes from, if I understood it correctly.
So I wrote this down in my notes. The augments almost destroyed Earth, but the Illyrians are seeking to modify themselves to adapt to planets. That's like the short version.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, humans and Starfleet are assuming that any kind of eugenics is going to result in another World War III and another darkness that's going to fall across the galaxy like Mbenga's. But the Illyrians are just like, nope, you can be restrained and it doesn't have to end up like that. But how do they know?
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think it did that. I think it did all of that really well. It tied in some old Star Trek history with a new story. Oh man, where to go next? I love the jackets, the away team jackets.
Yeah,
that's my second note.
The leather.
Yes.
So rad. Immediately want one.
My second note is dig the leather jackets.
Yeah.
So
love them.
Ian, I'm just going to let you give the rest of my notes.
See you later.
And I'll join you later.
I love the warp core. I love engineering. Like, we got a good shot of the whole of engineering this time, and the warp core, and just there was Stroppy Hammer walking around.
There was that really cool shot when the system power was diverted. And on screen, we saw how that looks like almost like, what's it called whenever, like the wind tunnels, where the wind kind of goes around the objects and you can kind of see the pattern on the screen. It kind of looked like that, but it was the Enterprise version of it.
They really know how
really
to scratch the itches. Like, the stuff that I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see power getting diverted. I want to see transporter beams going wrong. I want to see like chunks of molten core being energized into the transporter room.
Holy
How
shit!
Pretty is this show?
He's just like, what are you doing? Just performing a miracle. You know, just over
I'm
here
a
performing
genius,
miracles.
don't you know?
I have to say that was one of my favorite parts of this episode. There's a couple really big standouts for me this episode. One is this really strong female lead in this one, but closely behind it is how the characters that were dealing with their sudden light issues or whatever, you didn't quite know who was affected.
Yeah.
And Hemmer was one where when he was kind of like going around trying to figure stuff out, you're kind of like, okay, so he's not affected. But then all of a sudden he's doing this insane thing in the transporter room, which looked so badass, by the way. Like,
it's so
the air
cool.
was all warpy and whatnot. And I loved it. Like, it was just like bonkers how he was this mad scientist fucking with this, and you're like, no.
Stop it.
Yeah, that was a really
it's so
cool
great, because I figured he was beaming up some of the ion storm to get through the biofilters to find a cure, and he's just like, no, I want to be near the sun.
Yeah.
Just gonna like beam it up. It's so great. He's so good.
So cool.
They were just announcing the lockdown, and he just looks to his team, snaps his finger, and then everybody gets into their positions. It's like, oh, sir,
Yeah.
you run a tight ship. And
So,
we've been,
yeah.
like, Stamets in Discovery is kind of grumpy like that, but in a really obnoxious way. And I love him as a character, but this is just like, this is almost like Doctor from Scrubs level of, like, just sarcastic knobbishness. I love it. It's so great.
Yeah, this was one of those where there's something curious happening on the ship and you've got to figure it out and you're not quite sure what it is. Like when number one like leaned back in her chair and ripped her chest open so she could get exposure to more sun, and you're like, okay, what kind of a
I don't
weird...
remember that part. I can't quite recall
Yeah,
what you're
sure you
talking
don't.
about. Yeah, I don't
so
remember that at
she
all.
slowly leans back. Okay, so she's like, she sits down and she just slowly reclines, and her like her neck's kind of exposed already.
Oh, right,
but
right.
she
Yeah,
wants her
yeah, yeah.
chest more exposed. So she
Okay,
goes
all right,
for the,
interesting.
you know,
She pulls a Kirk maneuver.
yeah, she pulls a Kirk. I thought, okay, what do we have going on here? Like, what kind of a mystery is this going to be? We've already had one person put his face through some glass. What's happening?
Yeah.
So we know it's serious, but then it kind of goes into this mysterious thing. And then to tie that into how she can essentially, like, because of her genetics, she immediately filters out basically anything like disease-wise, right? Like anything
she has
viral.
a hyperimmune system.
Yeah. So it burns it out of her system instantly. So she essentially, we watch this thing happen to her. And it's really interesting that visually there's just enough tints of that to also echo into the beings that are in the ion storm. Like there's just enough of that kind of like mirroring of the sort of, I don't know, fire creature that you might transform into. So we kind of get to see the full danger zone that our crew are potentially going to be going through if this isn't solved in, you know, X amount of time or whatever. But when I got really excited, I was just really impressed. I'm confused, but impressed with how she turned into this problem solver of the episode, just unapologetically making decisions. Everyone's going into quarantine. We're doing this. We're doing that. And it was just this directness that was really awesome to kind of watch on screen. Still not knowing exactly what's going on with her. Did you figure it out, Ian? Like knowing anything?
That she was an Illyrian?
Yeah.
No, not at all. So she appears in the pilot of Star Trek, but you don't know anything about her at all. So it's always been a bit of a mystery about who she was or where she came from. But yeah, no, this was completely new, and I love it. It doesn't... And again, it's dealing... There are two mysteries in this episode that could have been dragged out for episodes and episodes. You could have hid her identity. You could have hidden Benga's daughter for ages. But they're just dealing with stuff. And it is not living inside the mystery. It's living inside the solution and the actual theme that comes along with so yeah, I absolutely love that. And there is just like this second of hesitation. She comes to the bridge and everyone is looking at her. But that's because she has to deliver the news that Spock and Pike are still on the planet. It's not because she's hesitant about taking the chair. It's that I've got some bad news and I've got to rally the troops. And then she just takes control and gets on with it. And here
So fucking cool.
I will say that I was, I think, most impressed by this episode's ability to weave what it wanted to do in the story with what it wanted to do with the themes. And I want to bring it back to what you were saying about how it dealt with two kind of surprises. I don't like twists or whatever, story turns or whatever, but like those two things in a different show would be season-long arcs.
Right? Oh my god, the medical bay transporter keeps breaking down. Whatever is happening.
Right. Now, there could be an argument maybe that the Mbanga stuff could have been its own episode, like just like one episode.
Oh, I'm sure it
but
will be.
still, but to do, yeah, and it probably will come back. So maybe I should quit talking. But I did like that it was just like, no, this is here. We're dealing with it, and it's not, you know, because again, I said this right from the start. The main thing I'm looking forward to is just a show that I can just pop in and watch an episode and just know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I like it. It's, you know, it feels like a throwback in some
They
ways.
do that, like as far as moving things along. They do that in other ways too. I actually have this note after hugely dilated eye, which I think is when like it starts on number one as she's like absorbing information. It's just this massive dilated eye. And I thought that was really interesting because it was about light. But and then it moves on this really interesting way. Oh no! This was the huge dilated eye was Uhura. It was when she wakes up and she
Oh,
sees
yes.
she sees her roomies. And then there's like this, what are you doing? And it looks like they're about to attack her or something. And then it immediately cuts to sickbay. And it's Chapel talking or whatever. And basically it's like, or maybe it was the doctor. I don't fucking know. Anyways, one of the two, they're like, this is affecting more people. The most recent one to come in is Uhura. She's fine, but her 2 roommates are blah, blah, blah. And it was just like an instant resolution to the previous scene. Oh, like instant. Where we didn't have to sit and wonder. A lot of times with these shows, it'd be like you cut away and you don't know what happened in the room. So they kind of...
Is Uhura okay? Is she dead?
Exactly.
That bullshit. Yeah.
But instead, it's like, we're just going to skip forward to... And we're going to catch everybody up and move the plot along. We're not going to get stuck in these like little moments where we can build tension. And I loved that because it's doing something different where we're so trained on that stuff to go like, okay, we're going to come back to that one later and see them all. And like... someone's going to come in and rescue them or something's going to happen. But instead, it's just like, oh, that's not the story that they're telling right now. Oh, what are they doing? Because we still have so much time left. I don't know. It just, to me, that's why I think it feels a little bit faster paced is that they're not really getting stuck into those tropes I think we're used to.
It does feel fresh. It feels like you could have been trapped with Uhura in there for ages, but it was just it does a great job of including every single cast member, giving them something to do. So Uhura has a little moment where she explains he sleeps in the dark, and that's why it took her longer to catch it. Even Ortegas gets the little catch Timothy Chalamet moment.
I loved. I laughed so hard when she was like, "Yeah, it's been a long day for all of us, buddy. Maybe do that in your own quarters. Whatever tweaks your freak, pal." I'm like, oh my god, that's hilarious.
She's so great. She's so sassy. I love it. And just the chief transporter officer just doing his transporter lingo. So I saw this great article online, and it said that Strange New Worlds isn't revisiting TOS. It's an extension of the Next Generation. And I went into this almost reluctant, thinking this is just going to be a rehash of the original series and going all the way back and just waiting to get to Kirk. This is just a copy and paste of Star Trek The Next Generation, but with fresh graphics, fresh stories. It's taking the heart of why that show was so great and just giving us more of it. Man, I just thought if I hadn't been told that this was happening before Kirk, I would completely believe this was happening after Picard.
Right.
Fine, change the look of the ship, whatever. But it's so fresh and it's so new. Oh man.
Well,
I'm gonna cry today.
I know. Well, even in how it's like with the doctor Mbenga. When Cookie Hemmer comes in and messes with the transporter a little bit or whatever, and then he leaves. Mbenga is clearly like, dude, stop messing with my stuff. Now we know by the end of the episode it's because his daughter is in there.
Well, he turned the lights off.
But he also turned the lights off. Exactly. So when Mbenga flips it back on, we now know he's infected, and we think that's maybe why he was being so protective, but it's actually like a twofer. So they're not just doing cool new storytelling things. They're also putting multiple layers in that you can just kind of catch later on and almost appreciate a scene in a totally new way.
I think that was a fake out. I don't think he was infected then. Because he comes in later and says, my numbers are doing something, now I'm infected. I think we were supposed to think he was infected during that. And they were, and so it was like, at least that's how I interpreted it, it was like, oh no, he's infected and he's going to control stuff. And it's like, and then later you find out, oh no, it was something
but
different.
That's the thing is like, TNG did this. I don't know that they did it a lot. I'm experiencing this on rewatches of TNG now. That there's like these little winks and nods earlier in a show that kind of pays off at the end. This is like it amped way up, which is great because we as advanced story consumers can take more. Like we consume 75 TikToks before bed. We can handle this kind of storytelling. You know?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. Oh man, I love it.
We do not consume 75 TikToks before bed. Not all anymore. Of us. I tried TikTok. It was taking up 50% of my day. So I deleted it.
This is the game.
But I think you're right, Ian. Like, what a cool thing for you, somebody who's watched this stuff for so long, to kind of go, oh my God, it's something fresh and new, a contagion in light, a contagion that's spread by light with all these different people interacting.
we've seen this episode before. It's the second episode of TNG. It's called The Naked Now. There is a disease that sweeps through the entire ship. They have to find a cure. That one is transmitted through water. There's a water molecule that's mutated, and people catch it just by sweating on each other. And this disease makes you really, really horny. So there's a lot of sweating on each other. So, man, I should have saved that for Trackle Triction.
Oh my god! Oh my god! There was such a horny show.
It was. TNG was so horny.
Listen. Let the old guy tell you. Entertainment used to be so much hornier. Like sex used to be so much more a part of pop culture. And I think for whatever reason, probably the advent of the internet and pornography on the internet and just the availability of sexual material on the internet, it just kind of seeped out of pop culture for the most part. Sorry about the word choice there. Many apologies.
But the point
but Star Trek was as horny as everything else was, then. It was,
I've seen Riker's nipples way more times than I cared. No, I'm lying. I haven't seen them enough. But the point I was trying to make is that we've literally seen this episode, but it still put a new twist on it and made it light instead, made it about eugenics as opposed to some random disease. And they're just nailing it. They're getting what we love about TNG. Bringing it up to date and not redoing and rehashing and not having to go so far in the opposite direction to have to do dramatic Discovery style, Picard style storytelling as well, which there's a place for, but it's about time we had this as well.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what? Light's bad. And then the very next thing we see is the Enterprise slowly turning its lights off in space. I'm like, this is fucking cool. Like, this is
what you do. Turn the damn lights off. Man. I wish they had some holograms walking around because those holograms would have been ambushed because holograms are just light and force fields. So they would have been wrecked. So, Deneé, about a third of the way through the episode, you just like burst out laughing. Like you did a big old Deneé count. Can you remember what it was for?
I think that was what. So you have to understand too, like I have to stop for commercials. So it might not have been as deep in as you think or whatever.
Right.
But when I think I laughed really, really hard when Ortega stopped the ensign at the very that shit cracked me up. Just like, dude, you get
whatever tweaks your freak, man.
But like this needs to happen in a different part of the building. Like,
I love it.
Was
I'm not going to judge, but stop getting naked in the corridors.
Yeah,
and just walks off. Just like, you know what? I'm gonna leave. You can do what you do.
I also had a pretty strong reaction whenever I realized that Quirky Hemmer was transporting the basically part of the core of the world into the thing. I was just like, oh shit.
Fuck yeah.
The mantle actually.
Yep. I also had an oh shit. I had an oh shit moment when Noonien sits up in sick bay. I was like, oh shit, because that was such a great, like tension building moment.
Like, where's she gonna go?
I mean, I wrote down several oh shit moments. There was another one when kind of towards the end, as things are wrapping up, as the first officer was going to talk to Noonien, kind of in 10 forward or whatever, which was oddly very, very quiet. Maybe everybody was still recovering in sickbay, not sure. The background was so cool. There was a lot of windows, so it's kind of hard to see. It sort of clips by quickly. But there was this really fucking cool, like, red storm situation happening in space. And then, like, in the distance, there was, like, this planet
the planet
Earth
with, like, the ring around
rings
it?
around it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so rad. And of
this
course,
show is so pretty.
It's really, really pretty. Yeah.
I do think we see this planet in the intro. I think
You might be right.
There's an explosion planet that I think is meant to be the one that we were on today. So I think Deneé's onto something.
So I wrote those planets down. We can talk about it in predictions.
I really can't wait for that. The little neutron ball thing that looks like a black.
Looks cool,
I want to
right?
be in that. No,
you don't. No,
I want to be in that episode.
No.
That's going to spaghettify me. You know what? I love the balls of like, you know what? We're going to give Spock and Pike 6 minutes of screen time and just let them have a little fact-finding mission and figure out what happened to the colonists. But this is definitely an Enterprise and Una episode, and it's great. It works.
Yeah, it really does. It works really, really well. I have so many more things that I've written down about this episode that I don't know are in the next part. So I'm going to give a quick look through because I think actually one question for you too.
Well, I can mention a couple things since we're in this part. I just have a couple other things. I like. Is there a word for like, you know how people have spirit animals, like their Trek version of that? Like such and such character is my
I think you still say like spirit. It would still be spirit animal or
so spirit Trek. Whatever. Anyway, Spock. I love him so much, and like when he said, "You're deliberately mixing my metaphor in order to indulge your anxiety." Like I got tingles, guys. Like I'm just like this man. Like, I love him so much. I did the same
because I was like, Pike, that's not what he's saying at all. Okay, here we go.
It's just the way it's worded, and it's just so perfect.
Put a ding at the end of it, and it's a CinemaSins line.
Oh man, it's so good.
He's great.
So good.
What else did you love, guys?
So number 1 said to Nunyan, she said, "I never think of you as a child." What does that mean?
I think that's just a young thing. Like she is one of the younger crew members. She's progressed really far, so she's a lieutenant commander, I think. But she's quite young, I think.
Okay,
I think it was just a general.
Okay, I was like,
comment.
wait, is she like eternally a child or something, or was it like a reference to her like being a con?
I mean, there's a good chance that she ages slower because of the passed on genetics or whatnot, but I think it was just a general, I saved you and mothered you a little bit, but you are an adult. You're not a child to me. I'm not going to belittle you. Or like I didn't not tell you to protect you. I think that's what she was getting at.
Okay. This can't go in predictions for the show because I think it would have been solved within this episode, so I'm going to throw this out now. There's that moment at the end, so Spock and Pike are in this library of information, and Spock had been reading like these information tubes, which I'm assuming are like old school Star Trek-y because they look old school.
I mean, it's probably to give off the vibe of that.
Yeah,
but
it does.
It's not something not something I'd necessarily seen before.
Because it's not like they pull out an interesting tablet with all of the information on like 125 megabytes or something. It's like
actually has to spin around and they have to physically read it.
Yeah, it's like a tube that you have to really unlock information, and there's like hundreds
really
of them.
Have to be this big. Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to take a while. So they've been down there on this mission, messing around, and Spock thinks he finds something, and so he's reading this information that helps to understand what's happening back on the ship, and that's really interesting or whatever. And maybe the slower parts that you guys are talking about, that could have been it for me. But right before they leave, they've realized that the light creatures in the storm are probably the people that used to be on the planet. They're kind of Spock is kind of making his assumptions there, his predictions there. And then all of a sudden, one of these tubes pops out of the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh my God, I think there's Illyrians living in the light there too. Like that's them communicating, like their final message. Mm-hmm. And that was
that's what I thought.
Is that what you thought too?
Isn't that what?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was saying. It was like they're still here. That's the ghosts of Illyria, right? Like they are still in the light. Apparently, they've become the light
they're
or
in
something.
The light of the building, because there's maybe ones that went into the storm and they live in the storm, but then there's ones that live in the buildings too.
Yeah.
And I think they want Starfleet to know that not all Illyrians are doing the maniacal thing. Like this was generally for good research, not for evil research.
So then what if in the Tubi thing, which is lit up, they bring Illyrian back with them on the Tubi?
Yes.
And now it lives inside of the ship too.
Heck yeah.
Did they end up bringing it back?
Did
they end up bringing
he had a
those
little
tubes
tube
back?
on his hip.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Ian learned about drive-through banking here in the United States, which apparently they don't have in England. But those things just reminded me of
100%
the pneumatic tubes, 100% that you use at the bank. To send in your checks and stuff.
How they work? That's weird. Just get out your car. Go for a walk. I don't know. Right. Final thoughts, guys.
I think the last thing I would want to say is an appreciation of the first officer deleting her log. I do this myself, where I'll kind of I don't know, I really related to that because, in fact, just today, I was working on an audio message to somebody, and I was kind of like sharing my heart and sharing my feelings, and I'm like, nope, I don't want to reveal this much about myself, and I just deleted it. And so, as I'm watching this episode, I'm like, holy shit, I do that. I'm a fucking first officer.
There it is.
But it was just an interesting thing, like her vulnerability to talk about something really important. It was like something like, the lights are back on, but we don't see clearly. People are always hiding things. I told Pike the truth about myself, and he defended me. He told me I was exemplary, and he would fight for me. So why do I feel terrible? What if I hadn't saved those lives? Would the captain feel the same? What if I wasn't a hero or one of the good ones? Wouldn't it be enough to be an Illyrian? Computer delete log entry. And I was like, yes. So powerful.
There's real power in saying stuff out loud and just getting it out of your head, even if you then delete it straight away afterwards. It's something that's...
Well, and she had to delete it.
Yeah,
like, I mean, she can't leave that in her log.
Yeah,
so,
she'll get found out. I love it. It's one of my favourite things that happens in Star Trek episodes. One of my favourite times that I've seen it done is when Janeway does it. It's quite early on, and she's talking about leading a crew that's on the other side of the galaxy. She said that as the captain, I have to put across a certain persona. They all see me as larger than life. I only wish I felt larger than life. And then she says, computer, delete last sentence. Like, she doesn't even want that she's feeling that to be on the record. It's such a clever little plot device.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's important. I mean, we're doing the same thing with the pictures that we put up on Instagram, right? Like, we're choosing what we want to put out there.
Absolutely.
To be logged. The last thing I'll say is, right as this moment is ending with the first officer, her quarters, by the way, look badass. It does this amazing pan. Did you guys see that when it pans? So it's a transition from
into Mbenga and his daughter.
Yes, it looks
so great.
Like if you're on the set and they're like recording the set, right? It looks like they have a little pod set up with the first officer inside, and then they like on wheels just shift her off to the left, and behind it is Mbenga's scene. And it was just this really cool transition that I couldn't stop like freaking out about as it just kind of moved off towards the left. It was so beautiful.
In the business, we call that an environmental wipe.
Oh, okay.
You think
what's that?
I want to think that it was an actual set that they just had on wheels and then
they may have.
It looked
they
like
may
it.
have.
It looks so good.
I mean, technology is amazing, but I mean, hey, they could have built it for sure.
It looks great that I was looking at the seam along the edge to try and find.
It was so
wrong
pretty.
With it.
It was so cool.
Yeah. And you could, if you wanted to not build a whole set, you could just build the end piece and put it in both scenes that you're filming, and then go.
Are you telling me they didn't build the Enterprise?
No. I'm just saying. No, Ian. There's
It's
a real
real.
Enterprise.
Yeah, it's
this is just for like.
Don't worry.
When they can't get to the real
it's fine.
Enterprise, they do some things.
They want to do something special.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't just use the transporters for that, but never mind.
Well,
I love it. It's another home run.
I lied. I have one more.
Go
I'm
on,
sorry.
do it. No, please do not apologize.
Okay. You know that moment in the Mbenga scene when he like locks out his windows?
Yeah.
Okay, I had a total flash to your D&D campaign where your bad guy had those same windows that would like blur out. Do you remember?
Yeah. So his office overlooked the casino that what's the word?
Lorded over.
Yeah, that he dominates. And his office was made entirely out of glass, but he could make it completely transparent or completely opaque. Or he could just make parts of it so that he could control what people can see in. And it's serious when the entire thing was completely black.
And it does that. Like, so Mbenga, he kind of shook and the whole thing goes away. And then we have this beautiful moment with his daughter and the book that they're reading. It was like this really sweet moment. I thought that was really cool.
So sweet. So everyone has so much depth. I love it. With that, let's head to engineering for ReSINstance is Futile. I mean, we may as well just skip this section. It's perfect.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin. I guess, even this one. You go for it, guys. I will say this. I do.
No. I will say this. Several of the things I wrote down, the show addressed. So like it really did a good job of like, there were tropes that the show was doing. Like, for instance, this piece of information I have, I'm not sharing it. Why aren't you sharing it? You need to save lives. But the show made a pretty good case for her not sharing who she was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like a lot of the things I wrote down, the show did end up dealing with pretty well. So I guess I'll just start with what I think is probably the biggest one, and it's just the hand waving of the eventual cure. I mean, it's so fast.
But dude, they chimeraed it. They did a chimera
Right.
antigen thing.
Right.
Was that not enough?
It's just like.
What more do you want, Aaron?
Wait. Say that one more time. Like what?
How did that happen?
Oh, we just cured it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
That did not go like I thought it was going to go. Based on what the doctor said, I thought, oh, he said like if we can capture it in the moment, and then we see her in the warp core have another one. I was like, oh, so they're do another kind of forced event, take her blood right in that moment, like do it quicker.
But it wasn't even the light disease, was it? It was radiation or something.
Oh, I have no idea. It went by so quick.
It's that's so on purpose.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
They might as well have just mumbled it into a microphone, been like, "Well, the cure was." Okay, moving on.
That's amazing. Shuffle just comes in, says some words and leaves and says, I'm a genius, fuck you guys.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Oh, it was the antibody. Okay, KMIARIK.
Chimera, yeah.
Chimera.
You mentioned it, the Chimera.
They Mission
antibody
Impossible 2.
before they set. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Cool, great. I mean,
Because of
Chimera just means
proximity.
two monsters.
Guys.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
she was in the same
Proximity,
room,
yeah.
and so a chimera thing happened,
Yeah,
and all is well.
Yeah. Reverse the polarity on the Heisenberg Chimera compensator. Uh-huh.
Yes.
My first note was, we got an ion storm cliche. Like, every single, away mission, there's an ion storm about to come in. And they still don't get out of its fucking way.
Nope.
Like, why are you cutting the beam out to be within seconds? Like, even the first round of get the away team up is ropey. Like, they struggle to get them up. And yet, Pike is still, off with Spock, just, not giving a shit. I was like, just get them up. Get them up quicker. And then send them back down. Because the ion storm is only there for a couple of hours. And then send them back down again.
Yeah.
Ion storms, man.
My first one is about I think maybe it was Pike doing the beginning of the show narration kind of thing that he does, talking about the away mission or whatever.
The captain's log.
And he was like, the genetic modification puts everyone on edge, and I was like, but you guys are doing it on your ship with Chapel, right?
Oh, I mean, yes, you're not wrong. I don't know what the distinction is between genetically changing
Everyone's
your
on
appearance
edge.
right now.
We
As long as you're not
used
doing it to babies. I think that's the main thing.
Oh, okay.
Apparently.
Okay.
But,
alright.
I mean, that's what the Illyrians are doing. They're changing themselves immediately to fit with the environment. Yeah, there's some hand-waving going on there for sure.
Let's see, this is a really small one, but it's just this kind of stuff annoys me. When she was like, oh, I'm kind of like the princess in the pea. I can only sleep in the pitch black. So when you close the door, and then they cut to her inside supposedly pitch black, and it's lit.
It's not pitch black.
It's just
I can see you.
It's like,
I mean, that scene is less interesting if it's pitch black, though.
is it though? Maybe it's more interesting.
That's amazing.
No. Yes, but obviously they had to do that. But that kind of stuff annoys me.
This is one, just taking blood through clothing. They take a blood sample from number one through her uniform, and I'm like, how?
And also
they do this with, they do this with hyper sprays as well. And sometimes it has to be on the neck. Sometimes they'll just walk up to somebody and do it on their clothing. And I'm like, is your uniform not now damp? Did that not absorb most of the good stuff? And I'm sure there's some bullshit explanation.
Wait,
but
are there not needles going through the uniform?
even if that's the case,
Okay.
stop going through uniform. It's gonna take some stuff with it, surely. I don't know. Are you gonna stain the uniform? Or are you gonna put a hole in the nice uniform that you just she
listen,
rips her uniform, gets changed, and then gets stabbed?
I, for one, appreciate this because when I took my vaccination for COVID, they put the little thing on my arm that was a donut-looking sticker with a clear plastic middle, and they pierced me through the plastic into my skin,
Oh,
and I was
that's
like,
weird.
"Excuse you."
That's weird.
Is there not plastic inside of me now? What have you
believe
done?
me, there is plastic inside of you, Deneé. We use so much plastic. You are drinking a lot of plastic. I
Yeah. Oh,
promise.
yeah. There's it's already proven that we've ingested enough. But anyway, I can appreciate your concern. I would fabric, plastic. It's all just in the bloodstream. It's not good though. Okay, it's not good.
It's not good, Aaron.
How does that stuff like get through your skin? Take off your
Ew.
skin first before you do that.
Right? Ew.
Well, Aaron has taken his horniness to the next level. He doesn't just want people naked; he wants them to take their skin off as well.
What do you really look like under there? So I wanted to mention the convenience of the fact that it just happened to be Nurse Chapel who was the last one impacted
man,
by
'cause
the
she has
light
the cure,
virus.
right?
Phew.
If it was
Yeah,
like
it's-
Ensign Chalamet, they would have been stuffed.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Thank goodness the one person who knew how to do the chimera thing was the last one who got infected.
Yeah.
One of mine is when they transport back onto the ship at the very beginning, and they had the ion storm kind of like mix up, and they had to divert power and everything. Number one comes off, and she's like, "Better not be out of miracles." Cap and Spock are on the surface, and my sim would be like, "Well, yeah, he knows that, right? He only beamed so many. Like, thanks for telling me something I already knew.
Thanks for making me feel shit about my job.
We're literally standing in front of you. He can see that. He has eyes."
It's so great. And I mean, on that, I love that she's like, just put more power into the transporters. And he's just like, no, it's not about power. Like, I can't just rev the engine more. Like, there is a literal cloud in the way. It's not going to get me through the brick wall. It's not going to help.
Yeah, you would think that ion clouds would be something that would be studied extensively before you go
Considering
on.
how often they
'Cause they're
run into the
everywhere.
bastards, yes.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. Right. The transporter thing, looking after the child and putting them in stasis.
The buffer.
The buffer.
The
I'm
buffer.
not gonna actually too much, but actually the signals do decay. Like we mentioned this last week. Like Scotty uses this exact trick and puts the transporter into a loop. Now, admittedly, that's over the course of 80 years, and Benga does say, as long as you rematerialize, you'll be fine. But if she has 12 weeks left to live, each time she dematerializes, that takes a chunk off. So they read the bedtime story, that takes half an hour. But how often is he dematerializing her? And the signal does degrade, or else we would do this. Like, the thing is, when this happens later in the season and somebody is like mortally wounded and they're under a strict amount of time, I guarantee they won't stuff them in the transporter buffer to give them an extra week to figure out the solution.
Oh, this is
Like-
so against regulation. Like, he is so...
It really feels like it.
And it feels like number one is like, listen, I found you out, but also I'm not supposed to be here, so we're going to let this go.
I wanted to talk about this. This is I had this in my notes to talk about. Like, are we sure we're like, I get what the show is saying, but like at some point, aren't there consequences
There has
for
to be.
like doing terrible things?
Well, and what is that little girl's life like when she's in this stasis?
So you're not
Right.
when you're Star Trek reasons, you are thankfully not aware when you're in the transport. You're not aware of the passage of time because
Okay.
that
So
would
she's
be
just- she's
fucking
just-
horrifying.
Jeez.
Well, is it any more horrifying than just having missing time?
Oh my
As somebody who's
goodness.
had if somebody who's had missing time in their life, by the way, it's not exactly a pleasant experience. Like, so I just wonder, like, every time she's coming back, it's like, okay, now you know you're.
So where are we now, Dad?
different, and where are we now? And
You know, the other wild thing is that right now, Khan and all of his his crew and all of his augments are currently on a ship in cryostasis, where they have been for the last 200 years. They have the technology to freeze her. They can put her in stasis. Like,
But then that's
I don't
not
get
cool
why they
because we're
even
not using
need
the
the
beam.
transporter.
Yeah.
well,
Why?
and he wants to talk to her every once in a while
Yeah.
too. Like he doesn't want to die while she's in cryostasis
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
at some point, he's only keeping her there because he reckons that there will be an adventure where they find the cure. So
Right.
I'm sure he would sacrifice story time for extending her life a certain degree.
Maybe.
Who knows? I don't know. I feel like Chief Engineer Stroppy would be like, there appears to be a life sign in my computer. Can we please can we figure out
Right.
what that is?
It is a common thing in Star Trek where it's like you have all this amazing technology, but it just can't do this one thing that would discover
Can't figure
something
it
that
out.
shouldn't be discovered. Yeah.
He's a genius, but he couldn't figure out that there's a human in the fucking transporter clogging up the works. Anyway, Aaron, I don't whoever's next.
I only have one other thing, and it's really just a question. I was thinking when Spock got cut and he was like just a little bit, further, and that would have, affected your whatever carotid.
Artery.
Yeah, carotid artery or whatever. And he's like, well,
For a
maybe
human.
in humans or for
I
a human
loved
or
that.
whatever.
That was great.
I loved it. I loved it too. But my question that sprung in my mind was, why are their bodies structured so similarly if their biology is like, do they not need blood to go to that part of their body in huge
Well,
quantities?
maybe
Is
the
there not an
carotid is
artery?
different. It's at a different
It might just be in a
spot.
different location. It might he has it, but it's on the back of his neck
well,
or
let me
something.
the whole point of the neck is it's this one little part that all that blood has to go through. Like it doesn't matter where he got cut, it's near his carotid.
If it's on
he
the
has
neck.
one,
Yeah.
it's near, like, so it just kind of got me thinking about, like,
I mean, I have the answer as to why they all look similar, but I don't know if we want to get into that right now. That's a long story.
Does
that
it
Star
have to
Trek
do with
explains.
budgetary restraints?
I mean, yes, but they make I mean, the budgetary restraints are so extreme that they dedicate an entire episode to explaining it.
Oh my god,
It's
that's
amazing.
amazing.
They
Okay.
literally explain it in TNG.
Well, go
so
on.
We'll do that at some. But basically, there are aliens thousands and thousands of years ago that seeded this galaxy with DNA on different planets. And
Oh,
that's why
good.
everybody has 2 arms and 2 legs.
Hold on a second. Hold
so
on.
that's like the
Hold on.
Huns. It's like the Huns of the universe or something.
You know how like fish, they're just like come in for like a mass sperming and just across all the eggs. Is that
Basically.
kind of like it is?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't every planet, which is why you can still get the Gorn that look like crocodiles and whatnot.
Gotcha.
And things that look like insects. It wasn't all planets, just the ones with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head.
I love that
and
they did that.
the planets that didn't end up humanoid just happened to end up looking like animals
Yeah,
from our planet.
100%.
Like, that's
Yeah, yeah. Let's. Anyway, moving on.
Skipping over that.
We're not sending all of Star Trek people. My last big one was that thing in Uhura's cabin was a simulation. How did it give them sunburn? Like it was sizzling them. Like there should be, like, I don't know, safety programs in place for that.
I felt like it was.
you would know better than me.
I don't know that it was burning them as much as their skin was starting to react to just the light emulating
It
from
looked
the
like
sun.
sunburn to me. Like
Oh,
it looked like they were sizzling. But I don't know.
To me, it looked like they were like transforming, kind of like number one was doing. Like they were like going into transformation. Who
But
knows?
they shouldn't be, though, because that's only augments that do that buzzy thing.
Yeah, that transformation wasn't a transformation. That was her body like nuking the disease. But I did notice burns on a lot of them,
Yeah.
and which you would think if they're trying
You're
to get
right.
too close to lights and
Yeah, that's
stuff.
definitely a sin.
But yeah, I don't know if it's real light, then can't it burn? Like if
Grab a drink.
What
What is real?
Well, it's a hologram,
Right.
though. I guess
but
so.
hologram
Yeah.
is light. Like how
Yeah, I
like
guess
you
so.
you can't simulate light. Light is light, right? Like it's
Yeah.
actual
You guys
light.
are
I don't
literally
know.
witnessing how we decide what is and is not a sin in our scripts.
Oh my goodness, you're
This is
so
literally
right.
what
This would be like backwards and forwards comments all day. That's amazing.
I think I have 2 more. One is when Dr. Mbenga says to number 1, you better come down here and let me look at you just in case. I wrote down, you better come and take a look at yourself, looking at yourself, cliche, because she's
You
also
better come
looking at
down here and
herself
let
in
me take a
2
look at you.
mirrors. So like
That's
while the
amazing.
sin is happening, she's looking in 2 mirrors, and so it's like, you better come and let me take a look at you taking a look at yourself in 2 mirrors, cliche. It's like just try to like
Yeah.
play with that a little bit.
Amazing.
Right.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
fun.
And my last one is when number 1 decides to go and stop Muscles from a warp core breach with just her fists. And I'm like, you dumbass, grab a phaser, set it to stun, deal with it. This is not a time to flex about how strong you are. Of course, seeing a fight is always kind of fun, and seeing 2 girls that know how to kick ass is interesting, and I don't mind that. But we have
I thought that fight was bad.
we have a warp core breach going on right now.
This is
Nobody
true.
wants to have a conversation between the 2 of you. There's a situation of explosion happening. You just take a phaser, you say your apologies later, and deal with your shit. So that was like a really big, confusing sin for
I mean, unless a phaser is literally resting on the console in front of her, apparently she's not going to pick it up and shoot anybody with it.
She's
Because
already-
even like
yeah.
with Hemmer, just because it happened to be there, like what if it hadn't?
What if it hadn't? There'd be like a knockdown
Yeah.
drag out fight. That would have been interesting. But
Bend his antenna.
she's already
I
had a
imagine
situation.
Andorians are so easy to hit. Just snap their antennas.
She set her phasers to none.
Wow. That's the sin. That's the sin.
Amazing.
Congrats.
So now you have a problem, Aaron, because you've used that joke in the outtakes. So
Not as far as anybody else knows.
yeah, but this is it. So you just made previous future you look like a dick.
Well,
Amazing.
it was always going to happen in one way or another.
What was your last one, Deneé?
That was it, just the two.
Nice.
But I do have
Beautiful.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 predictions.
Oh,
wow.
Get it. Let's go.
I
Okay.
just have the one.
With that, let's head to our final stop, which is the Captain's Ready Room. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we hear our predictions for the rest of the season and bask in our time crystal-like glory if anything we have previously predicted has come true. Today, it seems like you have a lot. Let's go for it.
Well, I kind of feel like I cheated a little bit because I write down predictions as I watch the show. So unless it was like somebody watching me to confirm, there's no way to tell you that I did
Oh,
wrong.
you mean
You predicted
internally?
stuff this show?
I've started to do that
nice.
where I'm predicting as
Oh,
I go.
I
Now,
see.
some of them are live outside of it, so I'll talk about those. But like my predictions
trust
during
you.
the show was that Ensign Lenz was going to die because he was like the red shirt guy, right? But he didn't actually die.
That would have made sense.
Because there was that interesting shot where he like the cabinet opens and there's all those broken beakers or whatever, and it's just like this weird looming shot, and it's like, oh, this guy is gonna die, but he did not die that I know about. I predicted that the storm was carrying the people.
Nice, I have that one.
predicted that they were gonna form a shield for protection.
Nice.
Yep.
And that number 1 was Illyrian. At one point during that, I was like, wait, is she Illyrian? And that revealed that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't predict that.
I did predict that she was going to, quote unquote, what I said, level up and do it again for the
Nice.
for the cure, and that ended up happening. But there's 2 that kind of live outside of the episode a little bit. One is that the kid's Dr. Mbenga's child, that the cure might have something to do with number 1 eventually. And it might have something to do with affecting the beaming, when the child beams back through, that they've applied the correct filter to remove the disease. That's kind of where I felt like this show might be giving a wink and a nod to how the cure might be applied to the child.
This is my prediction, and it goes along with yours, so I'm going to say it.
Do it.
First of all, I will say it's absolutely intentional, whether anything happens or not, that Mbenga says about the storybook. The ending, who knows? The ending could be miraculously changed. Like, I don't know if you remember that part they're talking about, and he's like trying to comfort, like, oh, we've read this a million. He's like, who knows? The ending could be miraculously changed. That is about Pike. 100%. This is where the season is going. It is about him being able to change his future or not. With that in mind, I wonder if she's the key. I wonder if something about her and possibly Mbenga sacrificing her for saving these children and Pike also.
Oh, Jesus.
In the end.
God
So
damn.
because she's already, I mean,
She's not.
in many ways, I know.
She's not
I
dead.
know.
Don't say she's
I'm
dead.
just-
She's not dead.
She's not dead, Aaron.
We saw her.
She's
didn't say that.
buffering. That's all.
Oh, what were you going to say? Because your lips were saying dead.
No, she is already decreed to be dying soon.
Okay,
So yeah. Anyhow, so I think it's really interesting that this season seems to want to deal with
Reversing
this
the
idea
future.
of can you change the future? And unfortunately, if they do, I will be upset, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be about me. But
Man, it's going to be tricky. Like, if they change Pike's course, that changes stuff that happens in TOS.
it's another
as
timeline,
well.
and now there are 3.
Which is really tricky. Well, I don't know.
So many timelines.
So many. Why does that make you so happy?
Well, that just means that I might exist in one and somehow be able to like intersect with Star Trek in my real life. That's just
Oh, heck yeah. Absolutely.
okay.
I like that. I think that I think the cure for Mbenga's daughter will come down to eugenics and genetic modifications, and he may have to use some sketchy science to get her there, and maybe Chapel will suddenly burst into the room and be like, I have the cure, I can do this. And they'll have to make the
she's
decision.
not dying. Not
be
after we saw her
awful.
read the
No,
book
no.
with him.
No.
No, she's not dying.
No.
However, I do wonder if it's connected. I wonder if they'll connect her, something about her being in stasis Pike will be like, oh, what if I do this with these other kids and then I don't have to, live in a Easy Bake Oven for the rest of my life, or whatever he's in.
Jeez, oh my
simmer pot.
Lanta.
Goodness,
Easy
right.
Bake Oven.
I don't know that I have really any huge other predictions, other than Starfleet will eventually find out that number one is an Illyrian, and there will be a court case where Pike has to go to bat, and there will be a adversarial thing where they have to prove that she has a right to be in Starfleet.
There was something really beautiful about the way he said, "I look forward to that conversation," or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever
that
it
looks
was.
so
Like,
badass.
Cross me,
Yeah,
bitches. Love it.
Yeah.
Why are you saying no to that, Deneé?
Because she's gonna die in Pike's place.
Shit. Oh, shit.
Right?
Now, ooh, maybe. I mean,
or her being an Illyrian is going to,
yeah.
She'll be able
possibly
to
do
absorb
something.
all that. We just saw it in this
Interesting.
episode.
Absorb the radiation. Yeah. Deneé is flapping.
I'm so excited. Let's fucking go.
I love and hate at the same time that we're praising the show for being like episodes that you can take, and then all we talk about is like, ooh, what if this what if this happens,
What if
and
this
what if
thread
this
goes
thing
this
carries
way?
over?
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to see if there's
No, it
gonna.
is.
I love that part of it. It's an exciting thing to do.
God
Okay.
damn it, Aaron.
Here's my last prediction, which I mentioned during the show, and this is about. This is how I was trying to very quickly write down the descriptions of the places that the Enterprise visits in the introduction.
Yeah.
Circle floaty disc thingy, crystal fly thingy, cloud pretty
Okay.
thingy, the nebulous
Yep,
thingy,
yep.
the Saturn turny thingy, the one drop through the
Nice.
middle thingy, the green thingy around thingy, the three thingy, and the two moons and planet thingy.
Amazing.
The circle ring thingy. The circle ring thingy. Oh, you mean like half the planets ever that have been ever seen or portrayed?
I was typing so fast because
You know,
I didn't
the ones
realize
that aren't
they go
cubes.
so fast.
Amazing.
The spherical planet.
What makes it so annoying is I spent the time to write thingy instead of one more specific descriptive.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Everything is a thingy.
I love the I love the one that you were talking about that looks like some sort of black hole,
Yeah,
like
neutron star thing.
neutron star kind of thing. And then the other
The one that's sort of like surrounded and turning in the middle, but then it's
Yes.
also got
Yeah.
like, it's almost like it's
Yeah.
dropped between two, like it's a
Yes.
balance between two.
It's like a quasar
Points.
or
Yeah.
something.
And the other one that I just love the way it looks is the green planet with like the green. I don't know if they're moons or if they're just like
Asteroids in the
satellites
atmosphere?
of some sort. But yeah, but they're also like these beautiful green.
pretty.
And yeah, it's really
Oh,
pretty.
they look like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I
all
love
of
it.
them are. There was two. There, one of them, I don't remember which descriptive it is. God, I wonder
Thingy.
why. But there's one where it's almost like two linear Andromeda strains or something, and they're just sort of sitting in between them, and they're just these really interesting, differently colored. I'm really excited to see if we actually notice these in the future.
Yeah.
But you might be right.
I
Maybe
love
we
it.
only see like one or two of them, if anything.
Well, it seems to be pretty consistent so far. Any final predictions, Deneé?
No.
You said you had like 7.
Well, most of them were within the episode that I can't really qualify.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm just
Cool.
writing them down for myself to see
Nice.
if they're coming true. And most of them did this time.
You said Andromeda strains.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that that's the Michael Crichton book, right? Like, that's about a disease.
Yeah.
Is that about planets? My mind was like,
I don't know.
wait,
I've
what's an
always thought of
Andromeda?
it like that it was something to do with space, but this is my imagination hearing words. So sorry about that. You're just going to have to
No, I was just trying to put it
two
together.
like strains.
Maybe it's a space virus. I haven't read the book, so.
No,
Or watch the
I
movie.
love that we're talking about stuff we haven't seen. That's me.
Chilling tale about a U.S. research satellite carrying a deadly extracterrestrial microscopic organism.
Cool.
So there you go.
That
It
is
is
this
space
episode.
and virus.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So don't listen to what I called it just now.
No.
Let me think of something else that I can describe it. Don't have it.
Good. Well, we fumbled our way through another episode of Star Trek. Yeah, still loving it. Cannot wait for next episode. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. It's Illyrian.
Got it. Got
From
it.
me.
Got it.
It's you're an example of defying stereotypes from me.
And it's whatever tweaks your freak, man, from me.
Nice. Live long and prosper.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Don't say anything humorous. For the love
Shit.
of everything
Fuck.
that is pure
God.
and good, stop saying
I'm sorry.
funny things.
I'm sorry.
Test, check, mic check, yes. Okay, that worked. So aggressive.
I'm going to live share with you a folder of assets that you need for the podcast, and I want to know what email to share that folder with. I just want to be here while you open up the file.
Okay. Oh, man, there's going to be a pun in there. Oh, you're a dick. Oh, he's so fucking funny. He's...
Would you like to explain what's going on in your head, Ian?
I don't know why he's even on this show.
Did you say
You
Star
thought-
Wars?
Yes, of
See,
course he
Deneé
said
gets
Star
it.
Wars. He thinks he's so funny as well. He's so happy with himself.
He is.
It's so
He's
good.
so
It's
happy
not
with
so
himself.
Good. It's the dumbest, oldest joke in the... Oh, you like Star Wars.
Which is exactly why it's amazing, because it trolls you so hard
Man.
every single time. You hate it so much.
You're a Star Trek fan. You must like the Millennium Falcon. Fuck off. Did you know there was a debacle on Star Trek fan Twitter this week?
Oh no! What was the debacle?
So the debacle was a Star Trek fan account of some description said, "I'm absolutely loving Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's great. However, that is not how you spell defibrillator." And then brought up a screenshot of the thing that whoever operated, it may have been Spock, I can't remember, but they had that personal defibrillator thing. And on the graphic, it said defibrillator, but without the R in it. And so one of the writers retweeted it and said, I mean this in the best of will and the best of spirits, but we did not get it wrong. We went through a big debate about how to spell this word around the office because all of us kept getting it wrong. This is why I remember it. And we definitely got it right. That image is doctored. And then one of the special effects company then comes in on the same thread and said, we just went through our files on the back end and it is absolutely correct. We cannot find a single occurrence of it being spelled in this way. That is definitely a doctored image. And then the fan account came back and said, yeah, I've just gone back to the episode and it's spelled correctly. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Now, to be completely fair, perhaps they were sent the image, and in good faith, maybe they didn't doctor it themselves. They probably didn't. But man, I love that the writers got in on it. The special effects company got in on it. I'm just like, nope.
Go for it.
And I just had like flashbacks to CinemaSins, and all of us like, how did we miss this? Like this went through 7 different people. How did we miss that?
Oh my god!
That was
Except for
spelled wrong.
we've never come across where it's like, oh yeah, this was doctored. It's like, no, yeah, we just fucking dropped
No,
the ball.
yeah, we fucked that up. That's on us. We have an email to read as well.
nice.
This is specifically for Aaron.
Oh, good. Cannot wait.
Even on the ship for 1 week, and
That's why I'm here.
so
I'm here to stir up trouble. Let's
this
go.
is from Steve, and the email starts. I feel personally attacked. So the quote, and it is in quote. So it's a little bit weird that way because I can see somebody who's only watching Strange New Worlds, which I don't know who that person is, but Commodore Dicer 2022. It's me. That person is me. I've seen a few episodes of TOS and TNG here and there, but I watched a decent amount of Enterprise back in college. It got a little play on the Sci-Fi Channel at the time, but that's the extent of my Trek knowledge. Much like the previous emailer, I've listened to you all talk about 2 full seasons of Picard without having seen a single episode. And after the finale, I thought, hey, maybe the podcast would be even more fun if I knew what the hell they were talking about. So yes, I am only now watching Strange New Worlds and following along. And it is more fun. Who knew? Anyways, keep up the great work. Thanks for the content. So I think...
Now wait a second. Hold on. Let me just address a few things here.
Star Wars.
First of all, first of all, a random throwaway comment about the likelihood of somebody only watching Strange New Worlds is different than perhaps how the definitive statement was interpreted. Like we're having a conversation, right? Second of all, this person says, I am the person that only watched Strange New Worlds, and then immediately says, oh, but I also watched all this other
just
Star
like a little
Trek.
bit.
oh, but just if you're going to be definitive and legalistic about my statement, I'm going to be definitive and legalistic about your statement. That's all I'm saying. Much love to Steve. You're amazing. Thank you for listening.
Please feel free to email us at captainspod.
I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're not entirely wrong. I think, that's the beauty of Star Trek, isn't it? There's so much that even if you've seen 10 episodes, that doesn't really count as having watched any Star Trek.
Right. And let me just reiterate. Of course, there's somebody who's only seen Strange New, like literally only seen Strange New Worlds in this giant world. Of course, there is. But in general,
like I
probably
said, that's the point of the show. Like this is to get people into Trek. Like this is to reintroduce people.
This is the next evolution of the drug.
It seems to be doing a really good job too. Like it's buzzing. Yeah, people are buzzing about this show.
We're going to do, Deneé, if you're ready, a Trek or Triction before we get into the show.
Okay, can we talk about this though? Because I feel like after the Twitter conversation, which you probably need to bring the audience in on at some point in time, there's a...
So, if you're not on Twitter, there was a bit of a debate where I changed the name of this segment to Trek or Triction. Aaron took issue, and then it hit the internet, and Aaron laid down a hard line. Aaron, please explain why I'm a horrible human being for calling this Trek or Triction.
Well, first of all, Ian, that is not why you're a horrible human being.
Many other reasons.
Many other factors involved in that conversation. However, in this case, this is just one of those things where I just think you had a brilliant, beautiful wordplay, and then because whatever happened and you said it wrong or you forgot it, all of a sudden it became this thing that is just it's just not that brilliant. It's just So yes, I suggested that it should be either truth or trection, like truth and fiction, or that it should be Trek or that it should be trick or trek. Or something, whatever the first one was. But listen, you call it whatever you want. It makes it fun, Call it 3 Treks in a Star Wars. I don't care.
Won't be that.
That'd be a fun game.
Okay, so Trek or Triction. And I'm really conflicted about whether to get Aaron in on this or not, because there's a good chance that I think there's a better chance that you've seen the episode. If I pick an actual episode of Star Trek, there's a good chance that you've seen it.
I don't know about good chance. Maybe a better chance, but I don't know about good chance.
Deneé, I'm going to let you pick. Should Aaron be involved?
No.
Okay,
never.
Good. So it's just me and Deneé.
Ever.
Just in all things in general. Just never, ever.
Listen.
I'm sad he's on the ship.
I've got to retain my power somehow.
That's right.
Okay. Eventually we'll have some theme music for Trick or Traction.
Okay.
Here we go.
We're going to have theme music?
I'm going to try.
Is it a trick or is it a traction? Trick or traction, trick or traction.
Yeah. So we are.
As long as you include the entire bass before you said
just like the really awkward long pause.
Yeah, just the really awkward long pause.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Are we ready? So this is the crew of the Voyager again. So this is your lady, Captain Janeway, and they run into an anomaly, and suddenly the ship turns into a wiggly worm. Like, it still looks like Voyager, but it's all wiggly and bendy. And eventually they lose contact with engineering, as always happens. So Chakotay and Tuvok go to engineering, but they keep going in circles because the ship bent out of order. So whenever they go round one corner, they turn round to a different. In the meantime, Janeway gets hit by a cloud and can only speak gibberish. So she's just sat in the corner in the holodeck, just going bah, me, smas, noosh, nas. And the holodeck at the time is stuck in a pool hall that Tom Paris has created, because he's just like playing pool and stuff. So she's passed out in a pool hall, just going meef maff moof. And it turns out the big cloud is just trying to say hi and make friends. And it's hilarious because Tuvok keeps getting lost and frustrated. And I love
This is bullshit.
that is an actual episode.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
It is.
Indeed,
You're
it
such a
is.
liar.
Indeed it
Oh,
is.
Aaron, don't act like you know.
One of my all-time favorites of Voyager. It's so much fun because Chakotay
I'm so
is...
mad at myself,
So what was it? Was it? I tried to keep that really basic and really simple.
which is why I was like, this is bullshit, because this is not being described like it's just too general.
It was season 1 Voyager, so it was like a little bit trying to find our feet. But the best part of it is Chakotay thinks it's hilarious that they keep walking in circles, and Tuvok is just like, this is some bullshit. Like, he's so pissed off that he keeps turning around and isn't where he thinks he and yeah, they just sideline Janeway for most of the episode and just make her talk in tongues.
My God.
Yep. So that's...
Wow.
I think that's only the second one you've got wrong, but you're doing it.
I'm just really I'm disappointed that that's actually an episode that seems way too... That I need to go back and watch the ones that I get wrong.
Yeah,
That's what needs to happen.
Because I've described that in a very boring way, but it's a brilliant episode. It's so much
It doesn't
fun.
sound like it.
It's fun that you said wibbly wobbly because I immediately thought of the episode Midnight when you started talking about like the gibberish part,
Yeah.
like where the doctor is speaking in or after the person or whatever, and then they sync up. And,
Yeah, it goes a bit
that was
backwards.
fun.
Aaron is here to reference any sci-fi property other than Star Trek.
He's here to troll you.
That wasn't a troll. You're a Who
No, I'm a Who
fan
fan.
too.
I'm a massive Who fan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a Who
in fact,
fan. That was just.
I was at my parents' yesterday and I found a picture of me with Tom Baker.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he released a book and he signed it for me, and it was a big book launch thing. And he put his arm around me, and I couldn't speak. This was 12-year-old Ian, and I could not talk to the man at all. Yeah, my mum just.
Did you just tug on his scarf?
I know he was
just
wearing
like-
a red scarf as well.
Oh,
so
no.
good. He knew his audience. And my mum just like dropped it on me that morning. She was like, "Oh, Tom Baker is in the local mall signing a book," and I'm like, "Sorry, what now?" I was like, "Do you want to go and see?" And I went, "Of course I don't. What am I going to say
That's
to
amazing.
Tom Baker?"
That's amazing.
But I knew that would be like one of the few opportunities to meet him. So 12-year-old Ian was smart.
When was he who? When what years?
1972 to 79 sounds
Okay.
right.
Because I was like, "There's no way you were like
Oh hell
grew
no!
up on him as." Oh
Hell
yeah,
no!
yeah.
No, I stumbled across Doctor Who when I was 8, and I was flicking channels in the morning, and Doctor Who, the third Doctor, was on this episode, and at the end of it, he regenerated and changed his face into Tom Baker, and I went, "What is this show? He just died and then changed his face. What's that blue box?" And everyone else seemed to know what was going on, and I didn't. And then I was hooked from then, and I got up at every morning. At, I think it was 5:30, 6 a.m. that it started. I got up at every morning and I watched every single rerun all the way through, and it just kept doing laps and laps and laps of Doctor Who.
Well, let's do this for our next segment on the Who Crew podcast. So, Deneé, what is your familiarity with Doctor Who?
I send one episode.
Oh,
yeah,
you
you
hated it, didn't you?
Where there was something to do with Titanic. No one told me anything about this show.
Yeah, it was a Christmas episode.
Space Titanic.
And suddenly
Yeah.
I'm watching this guy run around with people, and there's like a little magical stick he's holding. Didn't make much sense because he gave it to somebody else, so it didn't seem that important, but it also is.
Man, sum up Doctor Who in 2 sentences. Running, magic stick, lots of people.
Magic stick. There you go. You got it.
Now, which magic stick would you like? Would you like this one?
Boy, that's a personal question, Ian. That's a very personal question.
Would you like this one? Only appeared in 1 episode.
Wow. So Ian is now showing off his Doctor Who mobilia.
I genuinely have turned this into a Who
You
cast.
have.
I apologize.
Let's bring it back. I have a phaser.
There we go.
go.
Batteries have run out.
But you just went to the store to
no.
get batteries, so you should
Yeah,
definitely.
but they're downstairs. Do I have to stop the show and go down and get them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If the phaser makes noises, then you have to share.
Set phasers to none.
This is a different mic than I usually use, so if you didn't hear that audible sigh, here it is again.
Ian just starts saying the word sigh so he can make sure that you hear it.
Sigh. Take down to Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we get.
Uh-oh. Ian,
Welcome
you okay?
Something
Ian has
ate
broken.
me.
Oh, no.
Ian has failed. Ian.exe has collapsed.
Do. Bong.
While you
I'm
think about
gonna-
that, Ian, watch my screen. Ready?
Mm-hmm. That's my ship. We're gonna reenact the opening credits with my model ship. And I will post a picture of it on Twitter. My little
Janky model
clay
ship.
ship that It's not janky. You're janky.
Wow, that got really personal really
Get
fast.
off my ship.
You just called
Not
Deneé
hardworking,
janky.
not reliable, extremely low quality.
You
Wow.
just
Oh, did you
called
just look up the
Deneé
definition of janky?
She's gone.
Oh,
She's
no.
gone, man. I'm not sure she's coming back.